Hello everyone! Today we will be making flødeboller, or in English, Danish dream puffs. And it's a dessert that is very common on birthdays in Denmark. And as I remember when I was a kid, like almost 90% of the kids brought these flødeboller to the classroom and gave out of those when they had birthday. So it is a very common thing in Denmark. And today I will be sharing you a homemade recipe for that. And it is quite simple. So for the base itself, then we're using some waffles. You can also use marzipan. Marzipan is very common in Denmark for homemade ones, but waffles is also very nice. And then we will be using sugar, eggs and some water for the foam itself. And then on top of that, then we will be using some melted chocolate, and then it is up to your creativity to use whatever you want. So we are going to use some almonds, some dried fruit and maybe some jam in the middle of it, and then some real nostalgic hot candy from Denmark, liquorice. It's absolutely amazing. I really like licorice. So most people don't really like or enjoy licorice in Japan, but enough about all that licorice talk. Let's just start cooking. So we start by making a meringue using 5 egg whites, and we don't want any yolk or water in there because then it will break. So we start by mixing that together by hand because we don't have a mixer. And then we switch over to a bag. But does that even work, Alex? Not really. So we go back to a hand, and then we mix it into a meringue by hand, and then we can start making the syrup itself. For that, then we pour in some water and pour in the sugar, and then bring it up to a boil and let it boil for a couple of minutes before taking it off the heat. And we started making this dessert at 1 in the morning, so it was a bit late to start this project. I would advise to do that when you have a little bit more time. And then once it has boiled for a couple minutes, then you can pour it slowly in and mixing it by hand because we still don't have a mixer. And then figure out that we can't do that by hand and place it in the fridge because then it sets a little bit, right? And then we can mix it maybe into a bit more stiff texture because that's what we want. But no, it doesn't work. So we go and we buy a hand mixer at 1 in the morning at a random supermarket, and now we have the texture we want. So we can pour it in a piping bag that you can put in a glass in order to stabilize it. Once you have a reasonable amount of foam in your bag, then you can fold it up and then swing it really nicely to get rid of all the air pockets inside the bag. And then we can cut a small hole in order for it to be usable. Then you just make a nice soft cream shape on top of the waffles. And if you want anything inside, then you just make a ring and then pour in the jam or the fresh berries or whatever you have available. And then you can close it up with the rest of the foam. Then you have a small surprise once you crack it open. For the big one, then it is a bit too big to just use foam, so I'm placing in a bit of licorice. Get all the nice flavors in there. Trust me, it is definitely worth trying. It is so nice. And then we can place in like a banana or a strawberry inside the middle and close it up with the rest of the foam that we have. And my trick is to let them rest for about an hour once you've poured all the foam on the waffles, as then the foam will set a little bit and make it easier for the chocolate to be put on top of it. So as we have an hour, then we can go ahead and do some calligraphy. Today I am writing Aki no Fua Fua, which basically translates into the fluffiness of fall, because I'm making a very fluffy dessert in fall. Yeah. And then we can go back to the kitchen and chop up some berries, dried berries. And for the chocolate, then in order to melt it, then we pour in about 70% into a bowl. Then we can melt it using a hot pot with water inside, so it gets melted very slowly. And then you can pour in the rest of the chocolate and let it cool down a little bit when melting the rest of the chocolate. We pour the chocolate on with a larger spoon, and then we can use a smaller spoon to correct the chocolate amount so it's not super thick in one space and super thin in another. So we need a thin layer all around the flødeboller. And then you just add on top whatever topping you want. I'm using the berries and then the crushed almonds as well. But definitely get a pastry brush if you can. And it's the same procedure with the white chocolate. With the white chocolate, then you can use red berries or licorice to get a very nice contrast on the flødeboller, because the red and the black goes very well with the white chocolate. And licorice just goes very well with white chocolate. I mean, and once you've decorated all your flødeboller, then you just plate it. And then it's time for a B-roll. So this is the absolute most common thing to have on your birthday, especially as you're a kid. Usually it is with some shredded coconut over the milky chocolate or the dark chocolate, which is super nice. It's very uncommon, found in Japan. So we have used some raspberries or almonds to top it up, which looks amazing as well. You can also use licorice, or you can use some lemon zest as well. It's just a matter of what your creativity allows you to do. So this time we also have like the big one, which is including the licorice and the banana, which is not super common, but the licorice is very common in Denmark, especially if you have like a licorice sauce you mix with the puff, which is very nice. On the other side of the world, we have still achieved a Danish dessert. We have the puff, which is super fluffy, and we have the bottom part, which is a bit crunchy, as well as the top part and the chocolate being a bit crunchy and sweet. You remember what the package said on the licorice package? Real nostalgic hard candy. This is the epitome of nostalgia. Nostalgia? Yeah, nostalgia. You have the licorice flavor, which is what I love the most. It is absolutely amazing. If you don't like licorice, then you can do like my friend and try like a small piece of licorice once a week. You will like it at the end of 6 months or something. I promise you. If you can endure it. If you liked the video, then give it a big thumbs up like usual. It really helps out the channel, as well as subscribe if you haven't done already. And if you want to watch more Danish recipes or Danish desserts in particular, then I will list a lot of videos up here, and I will see you in the next one. Vi ses!